This is the Websites.ca podcast, where we help Canadian small businesses build and maintain an effective website and online presence.
Hello, Websites.ca listeners. This is Sean Corbett, Websites.ca marketing, for the final part of our lead harvest series. So we've talked about common mental hurdles and the mindset and strategy with which to approach a cold lead generation campaign. And then in part two, obviously I brought on Ross and we talked about how we use texting to do cold outreach, but some of the principles that we use, if you don't want to do texting, could apply to person-to-person outreach, physical mail, cold email, and so on. So basically that's sort of the actual lead getting step. Now today I need to wrap it all up with the harvesting of leads and the incubating of leads. And what I mean by that, right? People often say to keep the leads warm or whatever. And people often also use the word funnel, right? What's your sales funnel? So the implication basically here is that when you're doing cold outreach, unless you're in a really specific niche or you have a really compelling offer that's easily understood by most people or really desired by most people, most of the leads you get aren't going to buy right away. And so when you initially look at your budgeting and your spend, it's going to be slightly demoralizing because you're going to be in the hole, even if you have a good lead generation campaign, just simply because there's not very many, what we call like super hot leads or hyper buyers or whatever. Most of the leads are going to fall into categories that are either you're going to find out they're totally unqualified and disinterested. And I don't even know why they said yes in the first place. They just didn't want to tell you no at the start, I guess. And then the majority of leads are going to kind of fall into that undecided, cynical category. And if you just give up on step one, which is getting the lead and trying to do the initial sale, which may not even be a good strategy, to be honest, then you're going to leave a lot of money on the table. It's not going to be worth it. You'll spin your wheels. You'll get frustrated. You'll probably stop doing the lead outreach campaign. So it's not good enough that I just told you some ways you could get leads. We have to talk about what do we do with the leads once we have them in order to have the best chance into turning the most of them into paying customers. So the first thing I would say is, I can just give you an example of what our welcome funnel looks like. Like I keep repeating throughout this whole series, these are principles. You have to take them and apply them to your situation. What I say might not exactly apply to you. So there's going to be businesses that that just doesn't make any sense for the principle of the company to speak to the lead right away. There's going to be other businesses where it's a one-person company. You have to call the leads back or do something. So obviously when you get a lead, you have to decide, right? Is the best way to reach them going to be telephone, in-person meeting, email? It really depends on if you're entirely local or how you're operating. So again, you have to make the decision there. In our case, we wanted to, as fast as possible, get the leads that we harvested to do a long form telephone call with the founder and principal of the company. The reason why we're doing that is because the leads are worth quite a bit of money once they buy. The sales cycle is rather long in our case, so no one's going to buy off of the first phone call. And we just looked at some of our stats and we found that although a sale, or in our case, an investment in what we were offering, investment opportunities. An investment in what we were offering is of course, the end goal. But what would be a filter? What would stand in for someone who's likely to invest? And we found out that something like 50% of the people who do a phone call with the owner eventually invest. So the real hurdle was getting them to do a phone call, not to get them to do a lead. So one of the principles that we attacked right away is, especially when you're doing cold outreach, you really have to strike when the iron is hot. And so if you're farming out your lead process, if you have someone like Ross and I who aren't involved in the company, we're not staff, we're contractors or consultants. If you have someone like us getting your leads for you, internal staff has to get on those leads as fast as possible, ideally right away. Now, again, you have to test this out. Emailing them right away or texting them right away once you get the lead, that's really good, right? Or sending them physical mail right away so that they get it in a day or two, that's really good. Calling them right away is great for some industries. It's not so great for other industries. So again, if the offer is very simple, we have a consultant friend who is helping a company in Europe set up a new credit card offer. And when they made their application or whatever it was, they expressed their interest in getting this special credit card offer. He found that if he could have a sales rep call them the second after they submitted the online form, that increased their response by quite a bit in terms of taking the lead and actually getting them to become a customer. What we've been finding with some of our clients is because the sales cycle is so long, we have to get them information right away. And like I say, that could be via mail, it could be via email, whatever. We have to get them the information that they ask for right away, but they must not feel as though they're being pressured at all. And, we can start furthering the relationship right away by trying to get them on a phone call, but we can't start pressuring them to do anything else. That's just, it has nothing to do with not wanting to make sales. Again, we're just tailoring it to how our customers best respond and think. So welcome funnel things. You just want to think right away, okay, eternally, we have to respond to them as fast as possible. Set that expectation. Don't fall behind on it because you're paying so much money to get the leads. Follow up with them right away. And then have a plan. Like the word funnel might sound too fancy to you, right? But at least have some kind of basic plan. Okay, I'm going to follow up with these people. If I don't hear from them, I'm going to follow up again this way. I'm going to make another offer. I'm going to do this. You have to have a couple steps because again, like I said at the start of this recording, not everybody's going to respond right away. Ultimately, what I like to do after that welcome funnel, and again, one of the common misconceptions is you can't sell in the welcome funnel. You can certainly sell in the welcome funnel. It doesn't have to be 3 weeks of getting to know you. That's not the case here. Again, you have to take a step back and just think, when I say sell, what do I mean? So again, in my case, we're not calling people and after 2 minutes saying, send us $100,000 for this investment. Obviously, we're not doing that. That's stupid. It's never going to work. 1 out of 1,000 people might say yes, and we'll chase everyone else away. But we're still selling the entire time. And the sale is for minor hurdles. So, let's book a phone call with the principal. Well, they have to give up their time to do that, 20 minutes, 30 minutes maybe. So that's a minor hurdle. We're selling that the whole time. Then once after we sell that phone call, we're selling, hey, look over some of this material. We want to send you a video to review. That's not, it's not a 1 minute video. It's going to, again, take some concentration and time. Or we're going to send you this brochure. We want you to review it. So I count all those things as sales. As long as you're moving in the sports terminology, right? As long as you're moving the ball down the field, it shouldn't just be, hey, you're on our list now. Here's a coupon. Here's this. Here's that. Hey, we have a product. Everyone does that. And I'm going to get to that in kind of my next explanation. Try not to do what everyone else does. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, but you have to stand out a little bit because remember, you came in cold and, they don't know you from Adam. So we are still relationship building and selling at the same time and storytelling at the same time. That's what I would get you to think about. So our funnel goes, they get a welcome email right away as soon as they become a text lead. The welcome email sends them to our very best asset, video asset that we have that makes us look cool and legitimate and an exciting company and trustworthy company to deal with. And what we do is we send them to our YouTube channel, which kind of has a secondary goal. They can see the YouTube channel has been active for 4, 5, 6 years. They can see a bunch of our videos have thousands of views, even though we're in a niche industry that's basically private. And then they can see the principals in the company. They can see the partners. They can see the work that we do. It becomes more like real people, right? It's hard for scammers to set up 10-year-old YouTube channels and go and film all day, all the time across the country. So you're just building these building blocks. In our welcome email also, for this welcome funnel for the leads, we originally experimented with sending them a couple things. And we very quickly realized that we're giving people too many options. So that's why I say we kind of boiled it down to hey, thanks for your interest. Here's our best asset, best foot forward. Take a look at this and somebody will be in touch with you. Or of course, you put in the email or whatever, if you want to talk right away, here's my calendar, here's my phone number, give us a call. So no, we noticed most people don't do that. But almost everybody was looking at the video, opening the email. So that's a good sign, right? So from there, we were going and having an assistant call all of them and just say, hey, we want to see if we can set up a phone call between you and the founder. Now, again, that worked for us. Like I said, you have to find the equivalent with you. Some people who are listening to this, the most perfect equivalent thing might be to just try to sell them something right off the bat. Because I don't know, maybe you sell t-shirts. It's a $2 t-shirt or a $5 t-shirt or whatever it is. Maybe I'm thinking in the past, everything's probably $20 t-shirts now. But anyway, figure out what's best for you and make the next best first step, get on it fast and chain link these things together, right? So we have like text lead, then they get an email, links them to a video, somebody calls them. You see that we're kind of pinging them from all these different inputs. We're almost ever present. We have some follow-up emails that encourage them to look at some other research we've done, to look at past projects we've done. And these emails go out every couple days after they become a lead. And each email only has one ask, which I really think it might not work for everybody. I've seen really good marketers do it differently, but my personal method that I recommend to all clients is just like have one ask per email. And if there's multiple things that you want your lead to do, I would say it's best to break them up into different emails and send more emails or do more social posts or more phone calls as opposed to trying to fit everything into one email. And that's very contrarian because you'll see a lot of people these days try to do these roundup emails where they send out an email that has 50 different links. I don't know. God bless them if it works for them, but I wouldn't rely on that. So quickly, some things we learned in the welcome funnel section of harvesting the leads and keeping the leads warm is a lot of people were asking us at the lead section. They were asking the assistant when she followed up, and they were asking the principal when he finally did a phone call with them. Like, why are you reaching out to me? And the implication was, if you're so successful, why are you randomly texting and calling people to try to get them to become a client? So we realized that we needed a good answer to that. That wasn't just, well, we want to make more money. Well, we want to grow the business. So again, you're going to have to brainstorm what that answer is. For us, it's that we do business all across the country. In this case, the client's actually American, so we do business all across the U.S. They do actually have some clients from Canada as well, but we were focusing solely in on a state in which the company was headquartered in. So the follow-up email would basically say to them, thanks for responding to our message. It's been really important to us in the last year that we reach out to the local community, network, build relationships at home, right, where our company is located. So although we can take investors from all across the country, right now we're just talking to people in and then the city that we're working in. And that's just a plot. I mean, it's like 99% true. It's kind of making it sound better, but it's mostly the truth. And it's plausible. And so the idea here, again, is not to like blow them away with the answer. It's just to have an answer to a question that's floating around in their head. I've already talked about striking while the iron is hot. That was a big thing that we found out early when we played with timing. We have now found out that we might strike too fast, so they get an email right away is fine. We tried experimenting with calling in the same day, and we found a lot of people push back to that and said, well, I haven't had time to read your email yet. So we're going to keep experimenting with that. Pick something that sort of makes common sense to you and let it ride for a few months before you start tweaking and playing around is the best thing I would say. Everybody gets obsessed with testing, but everything I'm telling you is going to take some time to set up. So set it up in the way that seems logical and then let it play out. We talked about, not trying to make an immediate sale if it doesn't make sense, when exactly the figurehead should speak to them. Again, if you have like I don't know, let's say the owner of your company is sort of a local celebrity, or let's say you are the owner of the company and you're listening to me now, you have to decide when it's strategic to bring yourself into the game. So it may be important to bring yourself in right away, but sometimes it's kind of cool. It creates this aura around you to be a little bit hard to reach. So if you email them and say, here's our best foot forward, here's our best video, whatever, my assistant's going to be reaching out to you. The whole implication there is like you're a busy guy or gal, and they would be lucky to be able to get a phone call with you. So again, you don't do it in an arrogant way, but if the assistant reaches out or your sales rep reaches out, they can always upsell the offer of, well, maybe you should talk to the owner of the company. So just think about what resources you have, and maybe you don't deploy all of your best resources right away, is what I'm saying. So like I said, from that, you're going to get these super fans, hyper buyers, whatever you want to call it. And then you're going to be left with this giant glut of leads that if you don't process a certain percentage of them, then you're never going to break even on your ads. And so we call this part like incubating or keeping the leads warm. Basically, I back my email game. I work in several industries with email. I've seen lots of good results over time, lots of good feedback from customers and clients alike, or like their customers and then my own clients. And so I just personally feel very comfortable with my email game. I know that it's going to outcompete most other people in the industry. So that's where I tend to dump people. I just put them on a general email list after that. And it's almost like it's on autopilot for me. I just start emailing them as much as possible within reason. And over time, we peel them off as customers. If you hate email, if you have crappy email game, if you have better other game, whatever that could be, videos, or maybe you do lunch and learns or meetups or whatever it is, like push your leads to your best game, the thing that you're going to do most consistently, where you're most competitive with other people in your industry. So I can't tell you what that is. I personally think email is great. It's low cost. It's relatively easy to send out and keep stats on. And so, yeah, I'm a big proponent of email. And that's why, again, in the future, like in addition to this course, I'm going to have an email specific course because that's what I do all day, every day for many, many people. There's some mistakes I see basically in the email game is everyone just copies everyone else. So every email either turns into a sale or a coupon or just telling about a product. Hey, we have a new product. Hey, this product's on sale. I mean, that works to a certain limited degree. The bigger corporation you are, the better it works, right? If you're, I don't know, one of the big fast fashion brands like Banana Republic or something, maybe you're not doing a ton of business building and brand building. People already know you really well from your other advertisements. So all the Banana Republic does when you sign up for their email is just say, sweaters are on sale this week. Next week, pants are on sale. And that presumably is enough to make their emails worthwhile. I would say almost anyone listening to this, you cannot get away with that. So I want to press very quickly upon you a couple of great strategies that make your email game immediately better. Now, caveat, I can't get into super details here because that's my bread and butter. I charge a lot of money to help people with that, but I can give you the clues with which you can go down the road, or you can contact me if you want to talk further about that. Number one thing to think about is a concept called A pile, B pile that one of our favorite marketers back in the day, Gary Halbert, popularized. And the concept there was that when people get physical mail, they sort it over a trash can. Anything that looks like an ad, they throw it out. Anything that looks like a letter from grandma or cousins or their best friend, they keep. So I would keep that in mind using that exercise. I would go after this recording, after you listen to this, I would go to your inbox, open it up, and just look at the difference. Look at the difference between emails from friends and emails from spammers or companies trying to sell you shit without having any relationship with you that you typically just delete. You don't read, you ignore, okay? Anytime I tell businesses they should do emails, every business pictures the second type of thing. And they say, well, I don't want to spam people. Oh, well, the email has to be really short. Oh, well, the email has to have lots of pictures. I always ask them, what do you mean? And they think in their mind, well, business email is spamming people. Business email is a waste of time. Business email sucks. And then I kind of say, well, okay, well, think about the emails from your friends. They don't have any pictures usually. They're poorly punctuated. They're written fast. They usually hinge on one idea. They're trying to, your friends know what's interesting to you. So that might seem like a banal observation. Like if your best old friend you haven't seen for 6 years is going to be in town, and he says, hey, Bill, gonna be in town in 3 days. Do you have time to meet up? And let's say you guys used to always go out for whiskey. He says, let's go meet at this cool whiskey bar. Okay, so he's got urgency. He's only going to be in town for 2 days. He's offering you something he knows you like, that you have affinity on, which is whiskey. You have a pre-existing relationship. You haven't seen each other in a while. If you think about it, those are all natural human impulses. I'm not trying to make it sound gross or anything, but they're also all principles of sales and persuasion tactics. It's just that no one sits down and write a friendly letter thinking that they're doing sales and persuasion. But you can learn a lot from how we respond to friendly letters or family emails, as opposed to sales emails. So I would just take 15 minutes, compare the two, and ask yourself, what could I do in my business emails to make them look and sound and feel a lot more like emails from friends? And that's the most powerful thing that I've seen transform the fortunes of people doing email marketing. I'm going to give you some very quick templates or kind of styles of how to do both emails and social media posts. You've noticed throughout this whole series that I've occasionally thrown in social media posts when I talk about email. The reason for doing that is social posts can be good for getting new leads, although I wouldn't lean on them. It's kind of it's a hard thing to rely on. That's why we taught you to spend money and do texting, and you're going out there and getting the leads instead of letting them come to you. And social is very capricious. The algorithms change and stuff all the time. But the two main things we use it for is we just use it to build an online presence and show that the company is active and interesting for people who are maybe further on down the funnel and they want to look us up. You look a company up and you see that they have nothing. They haven't posted on their Facebook in 3 years. They have no evidence of being online in the last 2 years. Their hours on Google are different than the hours on their website. There's all these little things, little micro breaks that make you go, is this trustworthy? Is this information up to date? Are these people even still in business? So you may not like social media. I don't particularly like it. You may think it's horrible for society. I would probably lean more towards that than the other beliefs. However, it's a fact of doing business in this day and age. Like, you have to have some up-to-date presence online beyond your website. That's just the way that it is. You don't have to, right? But you have to be really, really good at other things, really elite at other things if you're not going to do that. Since most people, including me, are not elite at everything, I like to leverage social media. So we're constantly doing interesting posts on social media as well. And we are using them to ostensibly to business build. But what we find is once we connect with our customers, people who are on our email list, now we can hit them with multiple messaging on the social media platforms, also with emails. It's just your digital billboards are everywhere, in other words. So I always group social media posts in similar game with email, in that you want to be entertaining, a storyteller, stay top of mind, show you're professional, show you're up to date, never be boring, that kind of thing. So here's a couple, like I said, templates that you could use or you could give to your marketing guys in which to create emails and social posts that stand out. One of my styles is I like to call it the Q&A format. The email or the social post would begin with a reader asks or a customer wants to know. And then you state whatever a common question is in your industry or an interesting question, then you give the answer to it. And then finally, at the end of the email or social post, you transition to an ask for a sale or something, right? So the most common thing people try to do in social posts is they say whatever, like, subscribe, comment, whatever. Forget all that, okay? Just at the end of your social post, say something like, and we happen to have this product that does XYZ thing that ties into the question the person asked. You can check it out here. You can buy it here. Or, we often solve this problem when customers ask, join our email list to learn more. So you're just furthering the ball down the field, like I say. Another template, and by the way, this applies to all the templates I use. I almost always try to either push people to an email list or a sale or something at the end of my messaging, provided the messaging is entertaining and educational and so on. Next template is to be a contrarian. So you take a common industry position, a common cultural belief, and you explain why it's wrong or it's not applicable in some situations. And this kind of shows how you're a free thinker, you're an expert, you've thought more deeply about it. It also just happens to get people riled up. Unfortunately, again, in this day and age, we're living in this attention economy. So if you're just saying what everyone else is saying, sometimes a little trick is to come in, even if you don't totally believe it, right? Somebody says, I don't know, it's a common industry belief that people who buy red cars drive them in more destructive ways than people who buy blue cars. I don't even know if that's still applicable, but let's just say it is. And let's say everyone in your neighborhood, everyone in your industry generally believes that, accepts it, doesn't challenge it. You come along with an opening line like, it turns out blue and green car drivers are more destructive, ? And then even if you want to say in the thing that, no, actually the truth is drivers are more destructive. So you're not really actually saying you disagree with the statement, but you're opening with, is it possible? Is it possible the statement could be wrong? Well, let's examine it. You're really just giving people an excuse to stop and read you, essentially. Some people call that clickbait. I would say it's only clickbait if you're lying, defrauding people, if what you're talking about just has no connection whatsoever to what the business is. I just think you're being contrarian if you're questioning something, even if you're ultimately arriving at the answer that, yeah, actually the thing was right in most cases. You could also just say straight up, people in our industry get this wrong. I mean, I've talked to lots of experts and business owners, and that's that common thing they talk about. Everybody gets this thing wrong. I said, okay, cool. Let's talk about that online. And then they get really nervous about it. It's like, you're not insulting anybody. Just say why it's wrong. You're trying to help people. So that's the contrarian template. Another one is just to tell a story. You say, I have a customer named Bill or whatever. There's a guy named Bill and he had a problem and he solved it by doing XYZ thing, which is either what your service is or your product is or whatever. It was really bad, but then we fixed it and it was really good. And by the way, we can help you too if you have that problem. So it's just a lot more powerful to format it as a story than just say, you should buy our thing to get this, right? Because now it's not about the reader, it's about someone else, and everybody likes reading stories about other people. Another template you can use is the testimonial template. If you have a really interesting, funny, good testimonial from a customer, you basically just say something like, hey, would you say this about your current provider? You give the testimonial, and then you sort of transition into a sale from there. So those are sort of like about a quarter of the templates I use when I sit down to write emails and social posts for people. When I say template, I don't mean like I plug in words and I use the exact same thing every time. I'm just saying that gives you an outlet for creativity where you're still doing a sort of a successful sales pitch in a way that's entertaining. And then my final note about this sort of your funnel and keeping people warm and so on, right? This could take months. It could take years. You never know when you're going to sell somebody, and there's no such thing as a perfect email or a perfect social post. Everybody's worried about going viral. That's not really what the game is. The game is about showing up every day consistently. An email that you send out today that gets the most sales ever, you might send that same email out in 6 months and you might get no sales from it. That doesn't mean the email's dead now or the topic's not important. What you'll learn over time is no one can really predict these things. And it's like they say with timing investments, like if you try to time the market, you're going to take a paddling over time. What you have to do is just show up consistently. So email today does really poorly. 6 months, it might do better. Use it again in a year, it might do okay. The idea is to start developing these assets that are interesting, that make you stand out, and just start deploying them. And there's a really big principle here of like, always further the relationship rather than the transaction. You don't want to be transactional in the sense where you're always taking from people. You're giving them a little interesting tidbit, a little bit of entertainment. If they don't want to buy it, no big deal. But you're going to be back again tomorrow or next week with another little interesting tale. You'd be surprised how even if people don't buy from you, they start sending you letters like, hey, cool, I read your emails every week. You're the only person that I read. It's really entertaining, really funny. Ha ha ha. Thanks for doing that. By the way, I forwarded your email to someone who actually needs your service. And you'll say this to people. I see this with clients all the time. You're like, well, if you're not going to buy or invest or whatever right away, we could take you off the email list. No, I like reading it. Keep me on the list. I might invest one day. And even if they never do, we typically find they end up referring someone. So that's the game day in and day out. And then a final end game note is having a good CRM or some kind of database that you keep up to date with copious notes. So when you do have leads, you want to put them in that database, write down everything you know about them. If you do a phone call with them, or if your assistant does a phone call, your sales guy does a phone call with them, have them keep really good notes. There's nothing I hate more than paying for a lead. We give them to a sales rep. The sales rep calls them and they just write, Bill wasn't interested right now. It's like, that's all you talked about? Now, again, sometimes maybe it is. That maybe they rushed them off the phone. But you have to make sure you and your people are taking good notes. You never know when you might need to tag somebody in the future and they need to have the context of what's going on with this contact. And you never know what kind of stats you may want to analyze or run in the future. So I would just say, again, you're spending the money, you're doing the big setup to have this whole thing with a marketing lead funnel. Make sure you're doing everything right. Don't get lazy at the last minute, right? Don't not follow up with them. Don't not put them in a CRM or database where you keep good notes. It's just good housekeeping, and you'll thank yourself and me 6 months and a year down the road if you kind of remain diligent and consistent with all this stuff. So you can take this 3-part series, put all these episodes together. It'll give you a really good overview of how you can sit down and start thinking positively about your own business, or it'll aid you in actually hiring someone to help you because you can kind of, the right questions to ask. You can kind of tell based on what I've been telling you if someone's bamboozling you or selling you a dream that's not really tenable or realistic. We're actually doing this for clients all across North America. I'm not going to say that it's a license to print money. I'm not going to make the claim that, you spend $1 with my system and you're going to make $10,000 back. Obviously, if that were the case, I wouldn't be here recording with you right now. I'd just be out doing that and buying a private island somewhere. But the point is that customers retain us to help them consult on these things because we build them a dependable, steady, conservative, reliable, and efficient system with which they can sort of, I'm just going to say it, slowly grow their business. This isn't a get rich quick, double your customers in 2 weeks sort of thing. It's a tool that you add to your arsenal. So you set up this ever present, I guess I would say churning. It's a churning machine that's just going to produce for you day in and day out, rain or shine, nothing super explosive and fancy, just dependable business growth. And it's good for your staff. It's good for your bottom line. And ultimately, it's good for your customers and potential customers too. They like to be pinged. They like to be kept in touch with as long as, again, you're informative, educational, entertaining. So anybody who wants to know more, if they want to get our eventual courses on this, just reach out to me. My personal email is info@repria.ca. That's info@repria.ca. Again, my name's Sean, Sean, the Irish spelling. And yeah, reach out and just say you're interested in the lead funnel, texting, emails, whatever. If we have some time, if we can onboard new clients, we'll talk to you. Ideally, we're going to have some books and courses available soon. That would be the easiest thing I recommend, right? You don't need to do a personal meeting with me. You can read through the book or watch the course and get a really good idea of how to move forward with your business. If you're not satisfied with your current website or the service you get from your provider, you can switch to websites.ca for free and get a great support team behind you. Just visit websites.ca or email Ryan directly at ryan@websites.ca.
Thanks for listening, guys. Catch you next time.